Here's how to create a new income stream on Airbnb for under $1,000. Hey everybody, Richie Matthews here. My wife and I have acquired 62 Airbnb properties, and we didn't purchase them. We leased them, and with the owner's permission, we sublease them as a legal furnished rental on sites like Airbnb. It's called Airbnb Arbitrage or rental arbitrage. So there's basically two approaches you can take. You can lease a house or an apartment. Single family homes are extremely expensive. They're susceptible to economic downturns because you only have one traveler group, basically middle-class families on vacation. And they're very expensive. The furniture, almost 3 times the cost of an apartment. And you're not going to get rent concessions. And I'm going to talk about what that means in a minute, meaning the landlords aren't going to give you a low deposit and free first month's rent, which is actually commonplace in the apartment model, especially if there's vacancies up like there is this year. So those are the 3 principal reasons why I've only acquired apartments and why the cash on cash return is so great. Now, once you decide you're going to get in rental arbitrage and you decide you're going to focus on apartments, there's basically 2 ways that you can approach the apartment model. One is, are you going to lease your furniture or purchase it? Now, I've mostly purchased furniture, but if you're doing this at scale, there's a very valid argument for renting furniture. And I'm going to break down in my deal calculator how a student of mine recently did just that. My first unit was in February of 2020. 4 years ago, my wife and I created a new side hustle business. We produced festivals for a long time, and we were looking for something that was less seasonal than the event business that we were in. We produced festivals, mostly food festivals and music events for our own company. And then we were paid back immediately. Within March 15th, we acquired our second property. And so 4 years ago this week. And then COVID hit and wiped out our entire circuit, Dallas and Miami and Los Angeles and San Diego, all of our events, our food festivals, our music trade shows, all of that went away. We focused on the rental arbitrage business. And in April, I picked up 2 more doors. In June, July, August, 3 more. And then at the end of August, 2 more. So I had 9 units by the end of August in 6 months. All of that I grew on the initial investment. So I did not take new units unless I was paid back. And so for that reason, getting rent concessions, a low deposit and free first month's rent was crucial. And so I learned that pretty quickly and how to scale in that environment. 6 more months, I picked up another 9 units. Another year, we had 45 units total. A year beyond that, over 60 properties at 62. To date is what we've acquired. We've generated over $6 million gross revenue, all of that from the initial first investment. So I'm going to break down part of that, but I'm really going to kind of emphasize today about renting furniture. So I'm sort of late to the rent to furniture game, but I love it, but it only works on certain types of deals. So I'm going to open up my deal calculator right now and share with you a recent student deal. So I have a student who's in another country. We helped get him 3 units in an apartment building. He got 6 weeks rent concessions, 4 of them up front, and then the other 2 sprinkled out over the course of his lease. So it dropped his rent to where we needed it to be. But most importantly, we were able to get in with no first month's rent, and his deposit was only $200. And so we were at a choice. Should we take 1 or more? Now, I typically counsel to do 1 at a time and eventually 2 or 3 once you're paid back. But for the first unit, it's very important to get your money back and then deploy that new capital and new furniture. So in his case, he weighed the options of purchasing furniture for 1 unit or renting furniture, and he could then pick up 3 units. The landlord wanted to actually give him more, and he was actually making it conditional. So he kind of had a situation where he was going to lose the deal. So he rented the furniture. I believe it was from a company named Court. And they have whole home packages like Airbnb packages where they're throwing in linens and decor and things like that. They actually set it up for him. And so he's renting in there. He says he's going to rent them indefinitely. You could do it for a period of time, perhaps 6 months. And then once you're paid back, then you can get more furniture. So here's the structure of the deal, which I'm going to actually screen share with you guys right now. So here's the deal. So otherwise, it would cost $7,000 per unit if you were to buy furniture at $7 per square foot, 1,000 square foot apartment. But he's paying $650. $300 deposit. I think actually this one was $200. Free first month's rent. At least he got the free first month's rent. And he got 2 more months on it. His rent after the concessions down at $2,250. We loaded in his costs. And here's the greatest part of all. So we run comps using AirDNA, and two of the units in our comps were actually in the building. And the other host was crushing it, but he was using iPhone photos. He wasn't using, we could tell on his calendar, he wasn't using pricing software. And so we know we're going to do better than that host. He only had two units, so there's not a ton of competition. And so two of these units, these top two, is over 74% occupancy. And so the average gross revenue is under $4,900. It loads here, and it gives the expected net monthly revenue at just under $1,100 with the furniture costs already loaded in here, right here. It gives the furniture. That's a recurring monthly expense. Now, I've always been a proponent of just buying the furniture, and then your monthly net would be much more, perhaps over $1,500, which is my minimum. But heck, if you're able to pick up 3 units, he lived very far. He had the furniture company come in and set it up, and then he had for free. And then he had his new housekeeper that went in there, basically cleaned up everything and staged it based on the template that we provided for him. He FaceTimed her, and he was off to the races, got it listed, all 3 of them listed, and started booking. He made his money back. Now, here's the craziest part of all. Now, I normally am looking at between 400 to 500% cash on cash return, which means it's around about a 2-month payback. Takes you about 2 months to get your money back, which is fantastic. But he's going to get paid back in 1 month. $1,000 investment gets paid back in a month, and then it's net recurring revenue after that for all 3 units. Now, he's managing these properties, and if you were to farm it out to a property management company, you'd have to take it out of that. But we're actually teaching him how, using our virtual assistant program. Our VAs then run everything. 90% of this business is communication, scheduling housekeepers, communicating with them, contacting your guests or communicating with them, and replying to inquiries and communicating with people, perhaps negotiating with inquiries. That's 90% of the work. And the 10% of the time that someone needs to be on site, that's your housekeeper. And in this instance, you could see our housekeeper was doing way more than cleaning. That's exactly what we're teaching him. So the landlord is actually offering him more units in another part of the city. And so I think he's going to take it. So here's the structure of that deal. I think it was super important to show you on a deal calculator how you can not only run comps and feel very comfortable about your deal based on actual comps. Obviously, comps are super important to make sure you get them right geographically, just like in real estate, as well as the property type, right? You're not going to compare, a townhouse or penthouse to an apartment. You have to get a condo or apartment, same exact size, same exact bedroom makeup. And then you could look at historical data going back 2 years. And in this case, we look back 2 years of data to make sure that we knew what other hosts made. And here's the important part of my formula. So when I'm looking in a new market, I want to just make sure whatever the median rent in that market is for, let's just say, a 2-bedroom apartment, let's just say it's $2,500. I need to show historical data that I'm going to make $5,000. So that's it. That's my formula, 2x rent. If you want to see more on my particular formula on what I look for, check this video out. I actually go into the types of markets that I'm looking at, the types of apartments that I'm looking in, actually the class of apartment, and whether or not it's year-round travel. I focus, for instance, on business, work, and leisure. Another colossal mistake single-family homeowners do, they're usually doing vacation markets. Now, if you're an owner, that's fine because you own the property, you perhaps access it. You're not looking for cash flow as your primary driver. It's usually, equity over time and tax benefits. Whereas you're leasing an apartment, there's only one benefit, and that's cash flow. And so for that reason, the apartment model is really the only way to go. If anybody's talking about subleasing single family homes on Airbnb, be careful. The single family home market, the vacation market doesn't really work in down markets, down economy times. And so we're seeing that now. And so for that reason, the apartment model for the indefinite future is the way to go. I hope that helped. You can get in this business, whether you're buying furniture or renting furniture very inexpensively, especially if you're renting furniture, but it does depend on the deal, and the deal needs to hinge on the fact that the owner is going to give you rent concessions, at least 4 weeks free rent up front. Now, the way we get into that here, you can check out this video on my acquisition strategy. The way we're able to do that is making sure we're finding markets that have vacancies that are high. So a good short-term rental market, but the vacancies are ticking up. And right now we're seeing that for a lot of reasons. Vacancies track inflation and recession, and for other reasons, interest rates and things like that. And so right now is a great time for finding landlords that will work with you. And usually when you're bringing someone value, your deal will reflect that. And that usually means rent concessions. So I can get into more of that on my webinar I'm going to have on Tuesday on acquisitions, and more about breaking down the structure of renting furniture to save on your upfront costs. So join me on Tuesday. Click the link below. We'll see you there.